No.
Any abstentions? All right, the agenda has been approved. And I'll hand it over to Erin.
Morning. So as included in our bylaws, we do offer a time for public comment. Public comment can be signed up for by emailing ocpc@seattle.gov with public comment in the subject line. We do have a number of people signed up for public comment today. I did want to make a note that there appeared to be some confusion on how public comment was managed, and our public comment process is designed for people to come to the meeting and share their thoughts. However, we did receive a number of written comments this week because there appeared to be some confusion. For this week, LaRonda and I will read those. However, making sure that people understand in the future, written comments are included in the minutes of the meeting, so they are publicly available to all commissioners and any of the public that would like to see them. But after this meeting, written public comment will not be read in the meeting. And with that, I will go to the list. Our first commenter signed up is Howard Gale. Reminder that you have 2 minutes and that all items that are commented need to pertain to items that are on the agenda today. So Jesse's getting the public comment timer set up. And do we have our commenter with the ability to unmute themselves? Jesse? Okay, great. Howard, you have 2 minutes. Harold, your time has expired. Thank you. Next up is Laurette Colbert.
All right, Laurette, you should be able to talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning to you. My name is Laurette Colbert. I'm a retired high school teacher. I live in Finney Ridge, thank you. Last week, the CPC had its first public meeting held in over 6 years, which is good, it's great. But I question its authenticity as a forum for voices to be heard, opinions to be shared, because as I understand it, only 3 commissioners joined that meeting. And I question how there can be a genuine gathering of opinions and voices in large part, they're directed at CPC when only a few commissioners show up. And what message does that give, that low attendance give our community about the importance of the public meeting? Our community voices, do they matter? We need an authentic forum for voices. Of course, many people in our community are concerned about issues of police abuse and accountability. Again, the CPC structure, in my mind, doesn't seem to be well working, and we need a fully civilianized police investigation process with an elected oversight board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Valerie Schuler.
Valerie, you should be able.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Valerie. Go ahead, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, hi. Last week on Thursday, the 11th, the CPC had a public meeting asking for public comment on the upcoming police contract negotiations. It was a very important meeting. Members of the public voiced deep disillusionment with the OPA and police accountability in Seattle in general. Given that state of things, there didn't seem much hope for change from even an improved police contract. The meeting was run by 2 CPC staff, and I only saw 1 commissioner in attendance, although there might have been a couple of other commissioners I didn't see, but that was a very obvious absence. Members of the public were bearing witness to the injuries they and others received at the hands of SPD over the summer protests. Their experiences of unprovoked violence were traumatic, and it was painful to hear them. And more CPC commissioners should have been there to hear that in real time. As with other public meetings, the video of that meeting should be posted and easily available to the public. As far as I know, it isn't now, and I would request you strongly to post that video and all the videos of your meetings since the lockdown and everything went on to Zoom. If you watch that meeting, you'll hear that the weight of public comment went toward the one obvious correction to our out of control SPD. That is a fully civilian and elected police oversight board that has power to discipline and remove officers and is accountable to the public. Reform efforts haven't worked. Don't wait for rescue from the state legislature. That may never come. Act now for the welfare of the people of Seattle and take up the campaign for new and effective oversight. Thank you.
So we are at 6 minutes into public comment. I just want to note that we have 10 minutes on the agenda, and we have 4 more people signed up for live comment, which would take us over our agenda time. So moving forward, I would like to get the people that are here in person, but I am going to need us to restrict comments to 1 minute so that we can fit this in the time that we have. Thank you, Jesse. Next up is Mark Armendars. Mark, are you here?
I don't see Mark.
Okay. Then we will go to Braxton Baker.
Braxton, you should be able to speak now.
All right, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I'm here to echo the voices that have spoken here today, as well as those who have yet to be heard, by asking for the CPC to push for a fully civilianized police accountability system with an elected board. Since the beginning, we as a community have been lied to since the day that we were told time and time again that the police are on our side and that police are here to protect and serve the community. What happens when they're caught in the lie? When police are caught abusing and misusing our trust? Very little and nothing substantial. Nothing that gives us confidence that if the police are violating their oath, if the police are tormenting us, if the police are unjustly harming and killing us, that they will be held accountable. We have tried to let the police handle this, and begrudgingly we were forced to hope that they could. They couldn't. We have tried to work with police to have civilians and sworn officials jointly hold the police department accountable. That is also a failure. What we have yet to do is allow civilians to fully call out misconduct and allow them the power to do something about it. It is the time for the CPC to join the people in demanding full civilian oversight. I know that each of you commissioners are frustrated with the way things are, just like us, but the difference is that you are the closest thing in. Rather than play by the rules and fight to get in, join us by taking them out. We're tired of throwing more and more bodies into the darkness.
Thank you. Your time has expired. I need to go to Jennifer Gosar. Is Jennifer here? Do we see?
Yes, sorry, it just took me a
Okay.
second to get the
No
mute.
problem. Thank you. You have 1 minute.
Good morning, CPC chairpersons and commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity to address concerns that I have had as a community member. Since its inception, the body, the Community Police Commission, or the CPC, has had no accountability power. This has been utilized by SPD, the mayor's office, and the city attorney's office to proceed with whatever limited reforms, answering only to Judge Robart as the consent decree requires. As many may be grieving, yet another person in mental health crisis has been needlessly killed by SPD officers just last night. This is a further continuation of the deaths that have not stopped nor diminished since the CPC's work began. It is paramount that there be an independent, totally civilian body in existence with subpoena and disciplinary power. The CDC does not have and is not given the respect it deserves, rendering it ineffectual. Again, I repeat, it is paramount to be an independent, totally civilian body in existence with real accountability power. Furthermore, at your own public forum last week, only a few commissioners attended this body and heard from community members. Your message is clear. By your actions, we, the greater community, no, with your effort, I ask you to stop this meeting now for the entire commission to listen to community members who spoke at the February 11th CPC Community Forum.
Thank you. And Jason Sykes, you have 1 minute. We have Jason on here.
Yes, Jason should be able to talk now.
Thank you.
Jason?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. I just want to get my statement up in front of me.
Jason, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. I wanted to thank the CPC for hosting the town hall last week and providing the community with information on where we are in the process and what the CPC's current priorities are. After listening closely at that meeting, both to the information I was provided, but more importantly to the community members who spoke at that meeting and shared their experiences, I think that there's strong community support for full civilian oversight of law enforcement in Seattle. And I hope CPC takes in that feedback and adjusts its priorities to call for that full civilian oversight. We need to go beyond the 2017 police accountability measure. We need to go beyond marginal reforms. We should go and seize this moment for full civilian oversight of SPD. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, we have concluded all of the people that have signed up for comment. And we do have a couple of written comments. Given the time that we have to either decide to extend public comment or all written comments will be included with the minutes. Is there a motion from the commission to extend public comment?
This is Alina. I file a motion to extend public comment.
Is there a second?
This is Douglas. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we will now extend public comment, and LaRonda and I will read the public comments that are written with the reminder that moving forward from now on, public comment is in person and that written public comments will be including in meeting minutes. LaRonda?
Great. The first comment that I will read is from Ashleen Cooney. Ashleen says that she will not be present to read her public comment, but that Ashleen requests that it be read aloud. Ashleen is a victim of police brutality. Ashleen has gone through the OPA product. Ashleen knows for certain that the OPA does not hold SPD accountable. 10 out of 12 investigators are police. 91% of complaints are found unsustained. Ashleen has only seen 3 reprimands from the hundreds of police brutality incidents this summer. Ashleen usually calls in to speak live to the CPC discussion. On the 11th was hard on me. It is difficult to, or hard on Ashleen. It is difficult to continuously repeat how Ashleen was thrown, shoved, dragged, pepper gassed, tear gassed, and held in handcuffs for 5 hours in a holding cell overnight and transferred to Kent. Ashleen is still recovering and had to be partially hospitalized. Ashleen has an overwhelming fear that the CPC and the city will continue to rely on the OPA despite its obvious failure as an accountability body. Ashleen was disappointed to learn only 3 members of the CPC were even present at the meeting on the 11th, in which Ashleen spoke about her trauma. Ashleen writes to demand that the CPC suspend its agenda for the day and spend time having all the commissioners watch the public responses during the February 11th, including Ashleen's personal testimony, and that the CPC, based on testimony from February 11th and the experience of hundreds who have experienced abuse and who are now certain to obtain no justice, demand full civilianized police accountability with an elected oversight board. And that is the end of Ashleen Cooney's comment.
Okay, and I will read comments from Damian Boyd. Continuing to allow police to investigate themselves is a waste of city resources. Realistically, what other group gets to decide who investigates it? With multiple SPD officers having been confirmed in DC on the day of the violent insurrection, it is past due we have true independent civilian oversight of SPD. The current system serves only to excuse and embolden bad policing and contributes to the growing and justified distrust of police. Police are supposed to be a public service.
I will read a comment from Julie Buyana. I believe that is how Julie's last name is pronounced. In light of the community input given at the community meeting hosted by the CPC on February 11th, as well as the complete lack of accountability for SPD officers brutalizing protesters and marginalized community, the CPC must demand a fully civilianized elected police oversight board. These past several months have made it exceedingly clear that Seattle's current accountability system does not work. A fully civilianized oversight board is the first step in ensuring that the system is actually accountable to the community. The CPC has a duty to support and amplify this demand. This should be your most pressing agenda item, and that concludes Julie Buyana's comment.
I will read comments from Rose Crawford. The community and the victims of police brutality have said what they want time and time again. This is the CPC's second time hosting something with public comment, yet you pride yourself being the voice of the community. Rose hopes that we actually listen to the demands presented today. Police brutality thrives not only because of the nasty people in SPD or the contract, the accountability branches play a huge role in killer cop immunity. Why are you wasting time advocating to change in just a contract with changes that are 4 years old when the issues run much deeper? The Seattle community needs and demands a full civilian investigation with an elected oversight board. And that concludes Rose's public comment.
The next and final comment is from Mark Armendariz. Mark states, with the number of police abuse cases resulting in no justice for the abused, Mark requests that a civilian committee be formed to investigate and sanction illegal action committed by the police. And that concludes Mark Armendariz's comment.
Okay, and so that concludes our public comment, and we turn this over for the accountability and city partner updates.
Great. So updates first from, are there any updates from OIG?
Are there any updates from OIG? Reverend Walden, your microphone is causing that.
Okay, is there an update from OIG? Reverend Walden, when you're able to talk, please weigh in, but is there an update from OIG? Anyone from OIG on the?
Can you hear me? This is Anthony Fennell.
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. Thank you and good morning. Just a couple quick updates. One is just give you a continuing update on the Sentinel event review process. Is still ongoing. We're meeting regularly with the Sentinel event panel. And then the OIG is working in conjunction with OPA and FIT to conduct effective interviewing techniques and communication management training. So we're going into the round 2 of that training. And that concludes the update.
Great, thank you so much. Is there an update from OPA, Office of Police Accountability? Is there anyone from OPA? Okay. Are there any updates from the City Council?
Yes, thank you, Laron. This is Newell Aldrich from Councilmember Herbold's office. Couple updates. On February 9th, at the meeting of the Public Safety and Human Services Committee, the committee voted to recommend sending a draft bill to the Department of Justice and to the federal monitor in line with the process outlined in the consent decree, under which they have 45 days to review it. At a forthcoming meeting on March 9th, the committee plans to hear CPC commissioner appointments from all 3 appointing bodies, the commission, council, and mayor. That's it for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Noel. Is there an update from the mayor's office?
Good morning, everyone. Austin with the mayor's office. No direct update today, but I did want to thank all the CPC and staff for their hard work last week in the community meetings around collective bargaining. Please let us know, our office know how we can support compiling the documents that we need to get over to labor relations.
Great, thank you so much, Austin. Is there a DOJ update, or will that be rolled into the monitoring team's presentation later on in the meeting?
Hi, good morning. This is Brittany Sereneo with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Christina is on vacation this week, so I don't believe she's on the call, and I don't have an update to share.
Great, thank you so much. And I do want to say, I forgot to mention this, but I wanted to thank everyone for their public comment and for their willingness to come forward and share their thoughts with the CPC and be active participants with us. I will pass it off to Aaron for our discussion. Aaron, you're muted.
It helps if one unmutes. Yeah, I just sent a new link to Chief Diaz. He should be joining us momentarily. I'm just keeping an eye on that. And we will get started. The purpose of today's conversation is included. Give me 2 seconds here.
Hey, I was going to bring up while we're waiting for Chief Diaz, is it possible to adjust our public comment rules to ensure that we can read public comment? I'm just thinking as a matter of equity for people. Not everybody has access to broadband, can submit comment online. Some people can't be here in person to give public comments in the middle of the workday. So I just wanted to advocate for us to be able to continue to read public comment.
So changing the rules would require a bylaws revision because our rules for public comment. However, written comments are publicly available and are given to all commissioners, will be given to all commissioners. So they will have the same access to, give their information to the full commission. However, if changing the bylaws is something that the entire commission would like to do, we could start that process again, but it's not something that can be made with a single vote.
And I do want to note that not only are the written comments, will they be available to the commissioners, but we've made a decision to include those comments with the minutes so that they're also available to the public. So it's just a broader availability of the comments that are submitted to us.
Okay, and I see that Chief Diaz has joined us. Making sure that, yes. So welcome, Chief Diaz. We've asked you here today. Thank you so much for joining us. As you know, we are all aware, there were a number of officers from the Seattle Police Department who were present in Washington, D.C. the day of the insurrection. And while we know that you cannot discuss the details of that ongoing investigation, we would love to hear how the Seattle Police Department is addressing rooting out extremism within your ranks and some of the steps that you're taking in that regard. And we'd also like to understand what steps the Seattle Police Department is doing to support officers of color during this time. And that is what we're hoping you can share with us today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Erin. Good morning, everyone. I am happy to join you today. I've worked with the CP since the inception, and I want us to continue to establish authentic working relationships. So thank you, Erin, for inviting me. Thank you for everyone being on this call. I know people are probably anxious to ask questions, so I just want to make a few brief comments related to the questions on the invite. First, the investigation into the SPD officers found to be and self-admitted to be in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. I've been in contact with Director Meyerberg, asking him to accelerate the investigation as much as possible. He's been moving forward on that investigation. I cannot comment on any of the specifics of the investigation. I did place the initial officers on admin leave when I was made aware through the chain of command. It was unclear where they were or what was happening. So out of abundance of caution, I placed them on leave to eliminate any chance of any officer engaged in insurrection serving on the streets of Seattle. The 4 other officers self-reported being in DC, but all of them were clear that they were no way involved in attacking the Capitol or law enforcement outside the Capitol. While I appreciate the officers coming forward, due to the events on January 6th, I owe it to the community to ensure that this is investigated. I owe it to the community to be open and transparent. And I cannot speak for other departments, but I can speak for here. There was a lot of questions of reference to that we had the most officers that were in DC. And, you know, speaking to chiefs across the country, I don't believe necessarily that is true. We've just been open and transparent about, you know, what we're investigating with the community, while other agencies might not be as open. I know some would want all these individuals fired for traveling to DC and potentially being involved in an aspect of that day, from the initial rally to the attack on the Capitol. I hear those concerns, but I have to make sure that everything I do is within the legal guidelines. But I want to make it clear, officers who engage and subscribe to violent extremism, racism, sexism, hate, have no place among our fellow officers. It's officers that, you know, if officers see this, they come forward. And I know it's been put further pressure on the relationships with the community. I do have to say that in all those cases, we know that about the officers because SPD officers let us know, either reporting the behavior of other officers that had concerns about it or self-reporting. And this is a culture that we are striving to build, that we're trying to make sure that when we see wrong, that officers are speaking up. And I will speak to it in a moment. Right now, there's no way to ensure no one we hire will have problems, beliefs, or engage in troubling behaviors. But we can ensure it's expected that we hold ourselves accountable. I know this event, along with other recent occurrences, has heightened concerns around how the department deals with racism and extremism views. Already in the first 6 months as chief, I had to terminate two of our personnel, one of them an officer, for racist or biased remarks or comments. I've set out an expectation of what will not be tolerated. In that short period of time, I've made 5 terminations. I will not tolerate it. Anyone engaged in racism, bias activity, or speech, or any activity clearly known to violate the trust of the community will face the highest level of discipline, including termination. I've also tasked my command team with a comprehensive review of what is currently known about how to screen for and protect against racism and radicalization from recruitment to hiring and throughout the employee's career. There's some initial best practices that likely can be incorporated into our higher screening beyond what we do now, but this is a new area for everyone. I'm also especially concerned about how we can inoculate our officers and give them the tools to healthily handle the stress and trauma that they deal with every day. There's clear research that persistent exposure to trauma and negative events can prime a person to seek out external explanations for why the world can be a cruel place. This can make someone ripe for radicalization. There's emerging work on how to guard against this, and we will be on the leading edge of law enforcement's work in this area. While I can't go into details regarding 2 officers involved in shootings this last week, but as part of my commitment to transparency, we were able to get the video of this incident in under 24 hours. We're working on last night's events, and we will be getting that video out as soon as possible. These are tragic situations for everyone involved. I don't want to take too much time, but I know there were questions about policy revisions and feedback. As we've noted, and you noted in this invite, there's ongoing conversations on this policy and others. It must be systematic, or we'll be constantly training on new policies and procedures. And officers have whiplash from one change one moment to the next. Obviously, if something becomes problematic or counter to establishing rules of governance, we change it immediately. We always are listening for feedback, but that doesn't mean we're going to accept and implement every suggestion. And I know that's hard. And for one, there's sometimes competing suggestions. So we're just trying to figure out ways to find common ground, and we have to consider what is operationally realistic. If a stakeholder recommended ceasing and wearing bulletproof vests, there would be several issues with that, as we know, and we're constantly evaluating our own response. In a crowd situation, we're not deploying FN 303s or blast balls. This has been, now we're going into about 4 or 5 months without having those deployments in some sort of crowd demonstrations. And we're working to try and find alternatives, and this is our commitment. So I think that's enough for right now. I know folks have a lot of questions. I do have to switch to another meeting at 10, but I did mean that this is not a once a year engagement. I've directed my team to be actively engaged with CPC, and I will continue to join meetings as frequently as I can.
Thank you, Chief Diaz. We do have some commissioners with particular questions, but so we'll start with Douglas.
Morning, Chief Diaz. Thank you for being here. So, when it comes to the rally on January 6th, even before the violence component of it, of the insurrection and attempted coup, the explicit purpose of that rally was to overturn the Democratic election. And so I'm wondering, what is your reaction to the fact that officers were participating in that effort to overturn the election, regardless of whether they participated in the violence themselves? What's your kind of reaction to that?
I think it's a horrible decision for officers to go out to DC. I have asked our team to understand the political dynamics and how that plays into legality of discipline. So can we discipline officers just knowing what that rally might be about? And that is, everyone has given me advice that is not, because it's a political environment, and it is at that time the president of the United States. And I think people are even questioning, that was the whole impeachment process for even President Trump. There's just a lot of legality stuff that I have to make sure that I, shift through. But I think it's a horrible idea for officers to go out there for whatever reason. I don't know why the reason was. Some might say I was just wanting to see President Trump on his last levels of his term. Some might go out there with the idea that, of what that truly might be about overturning an election.